Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on episode 6 of Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So last we left off, it was the start of summer break, so I feel like, given everything that had happened, the only way to go about things is for Nagatoro to bug Senpai in summer. But it seems like, rather than doing that, Senpai has been isekai'd hard. So naturally, rather than being like the legendary hero that saves a bunch of people and does cool stuff, he's going to be, well, I don't know, just sort of, made into a victim in one way or another. You know, less, what's-his-face from Sword Art Online, more Kazuma from Konosuba. Yeah, already this is smelling a bit fishy, how Senpai's just sort of like brought in to take care of a demon lord. I feel like this is just going to be a cruel joke at his expense. Yeah, yep, there we go. So Senpai's a wizard purely because he's just a total social loser. So I guess this wasn't just a bit, you know, this is what's actually going on here. Senpai's been isekai'd and he's gonna have to contend with the demon lord. And I think it's fairly safe to say we already know the identity of the demon lord because, you know, who else could it really be? Naturally, I can only assume that Senpai's gonna have a real hard time with the demon lord here, you know. He can't exactly stand up for himself, and if Nagatoro is actually evil and not just kind of picking on him, then whatever this fantasy land is called is surely doomed. That's some insane luck you got there, Senpai. You just managed to find a giant carnivorous lizard. So it's an interesting kind of premise what's going on here, how Senpai has sort of been whisked away to this magic world, but as with real life, in this world, Senpai's just sort of, not very good, you know? He's sort of grasped the basics of magic, but rather ineffectually. Alright, so here we have Nagatoro dressed up as a cat girl. I feel like this is sort of like an advanced metaphor for what's going on here. You know, Nagatoro shows up and is helpful, but I'm sure at some point she's going to be revealed to be the Demon Lord. So it's sort of like, you know, Nagatoro giveth, Nagatoro taketh away, I guess. You know, I suppose that makes it sound a bit more highbrow than it really is, but you know, I'm wondering what the fallout of this is going to be. Like, is this just like Senpai's like fever dream or something like that? Because I feel like he's going to confide in Nagatoro that he dreamed she was a cat girl, and that's not going to go over particularly well. Or rather, she's definitely going to tease him for it. And, kinda rightly so, I feel like. I do think it's nice that we actually get, like, a fair bit of fantasy action here. Because fantasy anime, that's sort of something I've noticed in that there isn't much of it anymore. And whatever there is, it's sort of either isekai, inspired by Dragon Quest, or both. And I think that's kind of unfortunate. So, I mean, like, a little isekai here and there is not bad, but if it's all there is, I feel like that really makes the genre rather stale. You know, not everything has to be the Record of Lodoss War, but if there were like one or two more things like that, I certainly wouldn't complain. Now that being said, I'm certain that this is going to really start leaning into Dragon Quest any time now. Alright, well that's how you know this is almost certainly a dream. You know, Nagatoro just sort of gives him a little kiss on the cheek, saying like, hey, you did good, kid. Yeah, this is definitely wishful thinking on somebody's part here. Okay, so Nekotaro here is getting all buddy-buddy with the person that was formerly the dragon they fought. You know, Senpa is just being a little dense here. I would be incredibly suspicious about what's going on here. Wow, that's a really, I wasn't expecting a pun like that. You know, her name is Yoshi. She's sort of parodying the character of Yoshi. Man, you know, that look should really tell you everything you need to know that Nagatoro and her two compatriots are definitely not acting on the level here. I also find it telling that they're having Senpai go first, despite him ostensibly being a squishy mage. You know, you never have the wizard go out front, because that's how they get killed. Oh boy, what a surprise. Not only is Nagatoro a villain, her two friends are as well. Man, so Senpai really stepped in it this time. Not only is there one demon lord, there's three, and they all have horrible things in mind for him. Well, I guess this is really it. His magic is ineffectual. I guess there's really no respite here. He's just going to be bullied for all eternity. Or at least until he wakes up. Nagatoro actually raises a good point here. It should take more than a kiss on the cheek to fall in love with someone. I do have to wonder, though, if this is like his dream or something, what, I wonder, has prompted such a nightmare as this? Especially if the dream started off so comparatively well. Oh, no. Oh, it's not enough to just have a nightmare, but he had a nightmare in public. Good lord. He had a nightmare in public working on his manga in front of a bunch of other people. Oh, man. I would be, filling up the bathtub and grabbing my toaster if this happened to me. And even worse, he drew Nagatoro as a cat girl. No good can come out of this. Ah, Senpai. He seems to have at least sort of learned something, just keep doubling down, admit to nothing. Oh dear. Wow, that's about as awful as a situation as I could possibly imagine. So, the title of this sort of segment is, hey, let's go to the beach. I feel like Nagatoro is going to coax Senpai into it. He seems like the type of person to not go to the beach of his own volition. And naturally, if Nagatoro's dragging him to the beach, I feel like things are going to get interesting in short order. Nagatoro was awfully specific about that. I wouldn't be surprised if she was just sort of peeking in his window or something. She doesn't really give him a choice to sort of say no to this whole beach business. But tellingly, he does go along with it. Strictly speaking, he doesn't have to do it, but at the same time, if you're going to spend time with a bunch of cute girls on the beach, like, can you really turn that down in good conscience? So here we go. It already begins. Naturally they compare him to all sorts of, like, aquatic vermin. Ah, boy. Something is going to break here. Something's going to happen, and he's going to get, like, the upper hand on one of them. I feel like there's going to be some sort of, like, wardrobe malfunction once they're on the beach. That's how this sort of thing normally goes. Either that or they bury Senpai up to his neck in the sand. It seems like Senpai is finally noticing the benefits of coming to the beach. Granted, he can't really get away with looking at them without getting in trouble, one way or the other. It seems like, fortunately, given that Nagatoro's friends are teasing him, Nagatoro sort of has to default to being on his side, even if he's the one in the wrong here. On the other hand, she might take this as an opportunity to escalate the arms race, as it were. Uh-oh. Oh dear, so he's decided he's going to be the proverbial party pooper and just sort of, like, draw instead of swim. Naturally, this is going to lead to somebody dragging him in the water, I'm sure. It's interesting that Nagatoro and her friends seem to be more, I guess, athletic about their swimming. I don't know, normally when you go to the beach, you just sort of do, for want of a better term, beach stuff, like volleyball and things like that, but that they're actually sort of swimming competitively. That strikes me as highly unusual. At least in a stereotypical sense. Oh dear, now it begins. He was just sort of sketching the scenery, drawing a landscape, but, Nagatoro has decided he is a ripe target for teasing. Oh boy. Yeah, so if he's saying, like, ooh, I get burned in the sun, so I don't want to go out, she's going to offer to, rub some suntan lotion on him. Oh dear. Normally it's sort of like the opposite. The boy rubs the lotion on the girl, but not in this case, I guess. Although at the same time, I feel like there's going to be something else here that complicates issues, Surely Nagatoro can't be doing this out of the goodness of her heart. I mean, I guess swimming seems to be something that Nagatoro is genuinely passionate about, so she might just want to sort of share something she likes with Senpai, and in that regard, I guess it's sort of like a genuinely nice thing. Oh dear. Well, unfortunately, Senpai decided he had to put his foot in his mouth, so what could have been a relatively nice situation has devolved. Now, that's a rather evocative phrase. There's nothing fun about this, so you don't even have to bother helping me with it. Yeah, it's interesting how the tables have turned. Nagatoro is just sort of punishing him, but now that everyone else has gotten in on it, it's no longer fun. Man, poor guy. So covered in suntan lotion, he's gonna float on top of the water. You know, I don't know if that's true. Nagatoro is claiming that it's easier to float on seawater than fresh water, but I don't necessarily see why that would be the case. I don't know, maybe it has to do with the salt dissolved in the water, but I don't see necessarily why that would make you comparatively buoyant in the water. I feel like there's a chemistry question behind that. You know what? There we go. There's some sincerity. Nagatoro wants to know if he had fun, and he honestly said he did. There we go. Chalk that up as a victory. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.